We're going to pop off in about a minute here. So I was watching the movie Heat last night. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, for one very glaringly obvious reason. And that's that it is the most accurate depiction, the most accurate portrayal of female male dynamics that I've ever seen, especially from an artistic interpretation. The whole movie involves very rebellious, sort of cantankerous, maverick renegade types that are hell-bent on executing their mission, which is obviously pretty nefarious in the film. But the deal is this: not a single male character in that film has time for a bitch. Not one. And the movie sort of cycles through each individual romance between each male and female character, and they all are under severe strain. All of these relationships are very strained, and they're toppling, and they're sort of in this cataclysmic spiral downward because these men are so obsessed with carrying out their mission that they simply just don't have the emotional availability. Now, here's what's interesting. There's a scene in the movie with Pacino. He's talking to his girl, and she's very accurately assessing his psychology. And she's breaking things down, and she's telling him how he's a ghost, and essentially there's no affection, there's no love really in the relationship. They just live together. He comes home. The guy is a fucking workaholic. He's a fucking lunatic. All he cares about is catching the perpetrators of this very gory, bloody, macabre bank robbery. And the guy just can't sleep. He's just toiled. He's just in constant turmoil over trying to catch these guys. And it's obviously destroying his relationship with this woman. But here's what's interesting. When she's calling him out on this behavior, calling him for his lack of emotional availability, what he's doing is they both pause as she's talking, and there's this moment where you as the viewer, you in the audience, you can kind of tell she knows that if he was emotionally available in the way that she's beckoning him to be, she wouldn't love him the same. He knows this, she knows this, and it's one of the most interesting quagmires of life in general, is that there's not really a clear resolution to this in relationships, especially with very high-powered, high-caliber specimens of men. who are, like I said, devoted and willing to die to execute their mission, there's always this sort of tension and hostility at home with the woman. There's just simply no way to avoid it. And I do believe that's where the term hopeless romantic gets coined from, is because the hopelessness comes from the lack of resolution. Because if he was the man she wanted him to be with that verbal expression, it would abolish the relationship overnight. It would be toast. The reason she loves him so much is because he doesn't have time for her. That's literally the fundamental premise. And the whole movie just highlights this. All the characters have their own unique conflict with their bitches. And they all stem from the same obsession that is steering away from making her the priority. And all these women in the movie, that's all they're requesting. They're constantly in this cycle of requesting to be the star of the show. They want to be the spotlight. But subconsciously, they don't really want that, because they know deep down that's what would make them lose the love. And so my point in telling you this is that if you are striving for greatness or anything extraordinary in this life, you have to be a juggler. It's a juggling act. Things are going to be collapsing on your shoulders on a daily basis. And you have to answer the call, which means you have to double down and focus on the mission. And what's ironic about this is that when you are so consumed with the mission and your obsession, there's a level of jadedness and detachment that comes from this that makes you not really to be able to experience the full scope of a female's love, which is interesting, because it's only in absence of needing the full scope of a woman's love that you get her full love. So you'll be bathed in it. Like, a woman will literally ruin her life and ruin herself to be loyal to a man in this condition. But the man himself will struggle greatly to be receptive to it. He'll struggle to be receptive to those feelings and emotions because he's somewhat numb. It goes back to the old adage: when you don't need it, you get it all. It's true with women, it's true with money, it's true with everything. The minute you don't need it, that's when it all comes your way. So these men are putting themselves in positions where they don't need the female affection, but it's coming in spades. It's coming in droves because they are that type of man. Now, this cannot be manufactured. This cannot be manufactured. And I have a suspicion that the red pill and the whole PUA manosphere ethos in general, what it's trying to do is it's trying to replicate and mimic this process. But it's a pastiche. It's a Potemkin village. It's not the real McCoy. It's a simulacrum. You know what I mean? It's Main Street on Disneyland. It's just a paper mache fake sort of substitute for the real thing. Because you don't need game and you don't need any tactics if you're just simply a man who's willing to put himself in that spot, which, as I just said, and I really want to reemphasize this, because the hostility and the tension is really palpable. It's really palpable. It's very powerful, but it does keep people together. It does keep people together. I don't know if you guys remember, I had an old tweet that I found to be very fascinating because I know that for a fact it's true. I said something to the effect of, people that love each other usually are apart, and people that can't stand each other stay together. A lot of people that went over their head. But what I was saying is that people, like most people, the true love of their lives, they're separated right now. They're separated right now. There are women all over the world that are pining. They're pining after a man who they no longer have possession over. And they're with a placater. They're basically with like a placeholder. But they would leave the current man they're with to go back to that guy in fucking 2 seconds if they could. Because love is so powerful that it actually does tear people apart. And most people that are together long term, most, not all, but most, sort of dislike each other. And they're there because they're just tolerating one another. They're just simply kind of in a holding pattern of submission where they're just kind of tolerating each other's imperfections. They're not really pushing each other to the next level. They're not really building anything together. They're just sort of kind of coasting because life does feel more comfortable when you have your back against somebody else's back and it feels like you versus the world. That's most relationships. But the intense, fiery, passionate ones, they tear people apart. And it's one of the great questions. It's one of the great philosophical questions that has racked the brain of every great psychologist, every homegrown thinker, every brain trust. Nobody's been able to figure this one out because it's just ingrained. It's hard coded into the human experience. And I think this sort of tension that I'm talking about with females, with friends, with relatives, with relationships, I think this is the largest deterrent as to why people don't actually go after their dreams. Because you have to be able to sustain a very imbalanced life to be the kind of man that you want to be. You have to be in a very, very imbalanced state. And you have to be able to sustain that state and sustain that pressure for a long time. There's no optimization. There's sleepless nights. There's fucking tremors. There's delirium tremens. There's days when you feel like you're going to lose your fucking mind. There's days when you feel like you're a loose cannon. You're going to unload on your wife. You're just being charged and pressured and the walls are closing in on you. And you're just your humanity is being tested at all times. Your sanity is being pulled upon. It's a game of tug of war. And it's relentless. It never ceases. That's why you have to be a sicko to enjoy the game at the highest levels, because you have to enjoy the perturbations of your mind. You have to enjoy the elasticity of pushing your mind into a previously unknown state and then having the faith and conviction that your mind, even when it's stretched to the limits of insanity to pull off your dreams, you gotta have the faith that you're going to be able to come back to sanity. And some people don't. Some people lose their mind in the process and they never bounce back. And that's life. But some people have that elasticity, and no matter what you throw at them, no matter what's on their shoulders, they find a way to rein it back in and maintain that locus of control. And that's the game right there. That delicate balance. Dancing on the edge of the razor blades. You know what I mean? Like dodging the raindrops. That's where the gusto, that's where the moxie, that's where the male heart is really forged, is in that crucible that I'm talking about right there. Being able to sustain this type of madness and chaos. There is a hazy malaise right now in the culture in general, especially amongst the youngsters. There's a lot of guys who are semi-successful. Maybe they've run up a bag, they've secured the bag, they're making money, but they don't have a risk. They don't really have a risk tolerance. They're not challenging themselves on a day-to-day basis. They're just kind of living lives of quiet desperation. Even though they got money in the bank, they don't ever have to worry about paying their bills, but they're just kind of sitting at home in this languid, sort of just kind of half-baked stupor. They're in a torpor, and they don't know how to get out. And I venture to say that a lot of these guys are cleaving to the internet, looking up to figures, maybe even looking up to guys like me, because as a couch surfer, as a couch lounger, I do believe that, like, even my content exclusively, like a lot of my content, it's very clear that I'm a hunter. My whole mentality, my whole mantra is living for the thrill of the hunt. And it's sort of a revival of that ancestral, primordial ethos that I think that all men desire. And I think there's so many guys out there right now, youngsters, that are dying to put it all on the line for something greater than themselves, but they're just so scared. They just don't know how to do it. And they're just sort of killing themselves spiritually by not taking on these emboldening challenges. And I think it's extremely fucking fascinating to me, man. Like on my last spaces, there was a guy talking to me, and I told him straight up. I was like, listen, I was like, if you want to learn and you want to put your balls on the fucking line, I was like, DM me right now. DM me right now. I will make you put skin in the game. You're going to fucking throw some crypto bags into my sports books, and we're going to fire together. And I will teach you. I will show you the way. I will let you use my infrastructure. I will let you fly under my wings, under my tutelage of a business that I built with my blood, sweat, and tears for 15 years. You can come along with me. If you want to put skin in the game, I said, DM me right now. You know how many DMs I got? Like 50? You know how many motherfuckers actually responded? You know how many motherfuckers are actually about it? When you actually give them the opportunity that they've been begging for their whole life? Two motherfuckers answered my DM and deployed capital with me that night, and they're firing with me right now in my business. And I'm showing them the ropes, and we're going through it, and they're going to fucking learn the business, and they're going to do it the hard way. I'm going to put some fucking hair on their chest. All the other motherfuckers, LARPers. And that's the problem. Most of you guys are just fucking LARPing. You claim you want to be an entrepreneur. You claim that you don't like your situation. Oh, Brute, how can I improve my situation? Here's how you can fucking improve it. Go put some fucking skin in the game right now. Crickets. It is pathetic. It's an abomination. Because most people just aren't about it. And that's life. That's life. Most people just want to waste your time. Tire kickers. I don't know how you guys sleep at night being a fucking tire kicker. Just wasting time, moseying around, sticking your nose in this opportunity, jumping around. Zero fucking devotion or commitment to one thing. Unwilling to dive in and learn the fucking hard way. Which is the only way to learn, by the way. The hard way. So the internet has just been absolutely illuminating from my perspective. Because it's just filled with motherfuckers who are just wasting your fucking time. These guys don't want to fucking change. They just want to DM me and get the dopamine rush of me responding, asking for their phone number, and then they just disappear. And it's crazy because when you're at this level of social media, like the level that I'm at, you begin to understand what it's like to be a hot chick. It's very fucking interesting. Like, I know what it's like to be a hot chick because, like, these dudes are looking up to me like I'm their father in many ways, and I'm not. That was never the intention. But it blows my mind how butthurt they become when I don't capitulate to their questions, or they want to do small talk and I won't engage in small talk. It's fucking fascinating. I had a dude the other day discharging rapid fire questions to me. I didn't respond. The next day I went back to the DM because I was actually going to give him a response, and he blocked me. This motherfucker blocked me because I didn't respond to him in his time preference. It's unbelievable. And so my point is, fellas, is that at some point, like, you're either going to ante up at the big boy table or you're not. You know what I mean? Like there's not an infinite amount of time or opportunities that are going to come your way in this life. And if you're just a tire kicker and you're just walking around and you want this bravado and you want to pretend like you're super fucking serious and you want to make these changes in your life, but you're unwilling to be the Al Pacino in Heat, or you're unwilling to just be any of these characters. You're unwilling to take it to the highest fucking level and lay it all on the line, then you're going to come upon very, very, very dark times. Very, very dark times. And it's coming. It's coming. I called this last year on my feed, and I'm telling you guys, in the next year, people are really going to feel it. People are really going to feel it because we live in a time now where there's so much comfort that these youngsters are experiencing a ton of existential despair because they want something more. Like, you guys want to be carted off to battle. I know you do. I know you're praying that there's a fucking war or some fucking dreadful event happens so that you can have a call to arms and you can get off your fucking ass and transform. So you can go through that transmogrification, the transformative experience. That's what everybody's begging for right now, especially the dudes, because there's nothing out there. It's empty. We live in a fucking vapid culture right now where the call to adventure and the call to arms has been squashed. It's been extinguished. So we're fucking men. Like, we are hardwired for war. And any dumbass who does not understand that because we do live in a civil society, the closest cousin to war, believe it or not, is business, is capitalism. 100% business is fucking war. If you are playing business at the highest levels, it is 100% the closest cousin and simulation to war. The blood pressure, the temperature, the fucking vascularity in your veins, your blood's boiling. You know what I mean? The mental warfare, the psychological fucking strategy. It's all there. It's all there. That's why business and capitalism is the greatest game ever invented. Because it's war for civilized animals. That's what it is. That's what it is. But most of you guys are checking out of the fucking game. You're not playing. Capitalism is the greatest game that was ever invented, and you guys aren't even fucking playing. That's why I'm such a devil's advocate for Tantra and fucking meditation and New Age wisdom, because those are ways of checking out of the game. Minimalism. I'm just going to go get a backpack and live in a fucking tree for 2 years. No, motherfucker. What you're doing is you're subverting the fact that you are not good at capitalism. You have a duty as a man to prove that you can do commerce and you can do business. That's just a fact, because if you can't do that, you're going to be dependent upon somebody who does. If you are a man who cannot pull your weight financially, you will be dependent upon someone who does. Whether that's the government, whether that's welfare, I don't fucking know. But you will be dependent upon somebody who is good at capitalism and who does play the game. And guys, the game is fucking cruel and the game is fucking harsh. And that's how it's supposed to be, because it's a competitive environment. This is why men are ushered to greatness, because they're playing this game, and this game will sharpen your weapons. It'll sharpen your blades, but you have to put something at stake. Whether that's your money, sanity, spirit, or all of it fucking combined, at some point, you come to the conclusion as a man that your life is so bad right now. What the fuck do you have to lose by going all in? What happens if you lose? Oh, you just go get the job back that you fucking hate? Big fucking deal. Oh, you go get fucking $2 ground beef and take a shower at the beach? Go get a fucking blow-up mattress in a little fucking office? Who gives a fuck? It's 2023. You can fucking roll the dice on any opportunity. Anything that you want, you can have. It's all for the taking. It's all up for grabs. It's the year of the everyman. 2023 is the year of the everyman. An ordinary man can stand up and make himself great and become anything the fuck he wants to be. That's just what it is. The culture is extremely decentralized. You have all the fucking tools. You got a phone, you got a fucking Twitter account, you got fucking food in your belly. The fuck are you bitching for? You got to take some shots. You got to take some fucking shots. You got to break the mold. It's the only way to transform. You have to put yourself in very uncomfortable, and I mean very excruciatingly uncomfortable situations if you want to grow. If you want to be the same motherfucker year after year who when people ask you how you doing, oh, same old, you can be that guy. But that's not how I'm responding when I'm asking how you been. Someone asks me how you been, I ain't saying same old, same old. I always got new interesting fucking ventures going on. I'm fucking partnering with a fucking supplement brand. I'm releasing a fucking brute force product. I'm trying to put my mind in a bottle. I'm going to fucking I'm going to incubate myself in a lab for 2 months. And I'm going to do my best to scour the earth for the finest ingredients on the planet. And I'm going to try to take my mindset and put it in a fucking bottle. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to attempt it. I'm also, my end game, I'm going to build my own fucking sports book. I'm going to be the house eventually. So it's like the projects and opportunities are never fucking ending. It's why I have zero sympathy for a motherfucker who wakes up and bitches and complains about his life in a capitalist society. It is the funnest, most ethical game you can play. It's that fucking simple.